You know how it is you're trying to keep up with everything happening in the business world, and sometimes it just feels like drinking from a fire hose, right?
Totally. Information overload is real.
So much noise. What's actually important? What's the stuff that gives you an edge without, reading 50 different reports?
And that's exactly what we try to do here on the deep dive. We wade through all
Hmm.
that information, the industry reports, academic papers, the online chatter,
Hmm.
and we pull out the really crucial insights, the things that matter for you. It's about getting informed, but efficiently.
Right. So today we're diving into the business landscape for uh, 2025. We've pulled together a pretty fascinating mix of sources.
Yeah, we've got stuff on social media trends, consumer behavior shifts, the power of online communities.
Even how social media is changing our cities and what's happening in manufacturing. A real cross-section.
Exactly. The goal here is to give you a clear, engaging overview of the key trends shaping things up. We've looked at expert analysis, journals, blogs. It's
Mhm.
pretty comprehensive.
Our mission, then, is to basically lay out the critical developments you need on your radar to stay informed, maybe even stay ahead.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's jump in. Social media seems like a good place to start. It feels like it's, well, everywhere. One source actually called it the epicenter of culture for 2025.
Yeah, and get this, 90% of consumers apparently use social media to keep up with trends. That's even more than traditional media outlets.
90%? Wow. So what does that mean for businesses then?
It means this idea of cultural fluency is non-negotiable. It's not just about being on TikTok or Instagram.
Right.
You have to actually understand the culture there, the language, the memes, the values, the niche groups. It's constantly shifting. Consumers kind of expect brands to get it.
And the creator economy, that's evolving too, isn't it? It's not just about the huge names anymore.
No, not at all. There's massive value in working with smaller creators, micro-influencers, even just regular users posting their own authentic stuff, user-generated content, or UGC.
Why is that becoming so important? Is it just authenticity?
Authenticity is a huge part, yeah. Smaller creators often have really tight-knit, engaged audiences who trust them. UGC feels more real,
Oh,
more credible than a super polished ad.
makes sense.
And we're also seeing B2B creators take off, especially on platforms like LinkedIn. Think of LG was mentioned as an example, acting like of a brand influencer.
A brand influencer. Okay.
Yeah, sharing industry insights, building relationships. It's like thought leadership, but more peer-to-peer within the business world.
Now, this is interesting, the role of AI. It sounds like it's becoming a pretty vital tool for marketers.
Mm.
Not necessarily to be creative, but to help with creativity.
Exactly. The idea isn't replacement, it's assistance. Most social media pros seem to think AI can really help fight creative burnout if you use it right.
How does that work in practice, though? Like, what can AI actually do?
Well, think of it as a brainstorming partner or a way to visualize things quickly. The example given was using AI to mock up a video concept, like putting a flag on a building instantly.
Okay, so speeds things up.
Yeah, it can get you past that blank page feeling, automate some tedious tasks. That frees up the humans to focus on the bigger picture strategy, nuance, the really original ideas.
So AI is the helper, not the boss.
Pretty much. It augments human skill. It doesn't substitute for the core creative spark or the brand voice.
And another thing, these online connections, they're bleeding into the real world more. Niche communities forming online are actually leading to offline meetups.
Absolutely. It's a natural progression, isn't it? You build strong bonds online over shared passions. Eventually, you want to meet in person. These online spaces really nurture subcultures.
And what about new platforms like Threads popped up?
Mm.
Should brands jump on every new thing?
Well, new networks like Threads are interesting test beds, good places to experiment with new content formats, see what sticks. But the advice seems to be experiment, yes, but don't feel pressured to be everywhere. Be strategic.
Right, focus your resources.
Exactly. And speaking of resources, the need to prove ROI from social media, that's only getting stronger.
Ah, the money question.
Always. About 65% of marketing leaders say proving that value is their top priority for getting investment. You gotta show how social media actually contributes to business goals.
So linking likes to the bottom line.
Essentially, yes. It's not just vanity metrics anymore. It's about demonstrating tangible impact. And understanding all these social trends is valuable way beyond just marketing.
How so?
It tells you about cultural shifts, how communication is changing. That's relevant whether you're in product, HR, or just want to understand the world around you.
Okay, good point. Let's shift then to us as consumers. How are we changing in this digital age? Convenience seems huge.
Oh, definitely. The sources really hammer this point. The rise in online shopping, mobile commerce, it's massive,
Ugh.
fueled by things we now almost take for granted, like same-day delivery, super easy returns,
Why are those specific things so powerful?
because they remove friction. In our busy lives, people value time and ease above almost anything else. Quick delivery, no hassle returns, they make buying online feel low risk and simple.
And technology is making it even smoother.
Yeah, AI and big data are powering personalization. Retailers can anticipate what you might need, offer tailored suggestions. It makes the experience feel more relevant.
But it's not just about speed and convenience, is it? There's this growing ethical side, too.
That's a really strong trend. The stat was what, 65% of consumers are willing to pay more for products from brands they see as socially or environmentally responsible.
Yeah, 65%, that's significant.
It really is. People are increasingly voting with their wallets, choosing brands that align with their values. But there's a catch.
Tree washing.
Exactly. Companies have to be genuinely committed and transparent. Consumers are getting savvy at spotting fake sustainability efforts. The backlash can be tough.
So even with all this tech and data, good old-fashioned word of mouth still matters.
Absolutely. Maybe even more so, in a way. Trust is paramount. Recommendations from friends, family, even online reviewers, we trust that social proof still carries huge weight.
But that brings up the data privacy issue again.
Right. It's a constant tension. We want personalization, but we're wary of how our data is used. Companies need to be super transparent about what they collect and why. Things like GDPR are pushing that.
And globalization. That's making the consumer landscape more complex, too.
For sure. We're seeing a more diverse, more sophisticated global consumer base. So businesses expanding internationally really need to understand cultural nuances. You can't just use the same message everywhere.
So adapting is key.
Cultural sensitivity, absolutely.
Sure.
Understanding these consumer shifts is, well, fundamental for anyone in business today. Strategy, marketing, product, it touches everything.
Okay, let's dive into online forums and communities. These are kind of the original social media, weren't they?
In many ways, yeah. Thinking back to the early bulletin board systems, BBSs.
Right. All the way to today's massive platforms like Reddit, or specialized ones like Stack Overflow for tech or Baby Center for parents. What's the magic that keeps them going?
It's that sense of community, of belonging. Forums empower users. People aren't just consuming content, they're creating it, sharing expertise, helping each other out.
And they have real influence, don't they? Like TripAdvisor shaping travel plans.
Exactly. Or Lego ideas where fans suggest actual products. It shows the power of that user-generated content, that community feedback loop. Brands like Sephora also use communities for engagement.
And that content, created by users, it just spreads like wildfire sometimes, thanks to social media sharing it out.
Totally. It empowers niche groups, gives them a voice, and sometimes it drives major social change. Think about movements like #MeToo or Black Lives Matter. Online forums and social spaces were crucial early on for sharing stories and organizing.
But there's a dark side too, right? Misinformation.
Yeah, unfortunately. The sources mention things like the Pizzagate conspiracy, which spread wildly through forums, and online harassment is a serious problem, like the Gamergate controversy showed.
So how do communities deal with that? How do you keep them healthy?
It takes active effort. Clear rules and guidelines are essential. Consistent moderation to enforce those rules. Providing valuable content to keep people engaged positively.
And fostering connections.
Definitely. Making it easy for members to interact. And also analyzing user data ethically, of course, to understand what's working and what's not.
What's next for forums? Are they still evolving?
Oh, yeah. We'll likely see more personalization, better integration of video and images, smoother mobile experiences. AI will probably a bigger role in moderation and maybe recommending content.
More niche communities, too.
Probably. And ongoing focus on privacy features. But the core power, that user-generated content, that's enduring.
It builds authenticity, trust.
Amplifies different voices, sparks creativity. I mean, look at Wikipedia, a massive collaborative effort built on user contributions.
A perfect example. These communities really are shaping how we get information and, well, how culture happens. They give you those aha moments.
Exactly. Connecting with people, learning from different perspectives, it's fundamental.
Okay, now let's connect the digital and physical. How is social media actually changing our cities, our urban spaces? It feels kind of wild to think Instagram is influencing city planning.
It sounds wild, but it's happening. Social media platforms give planners a sort of real-time feedback loop. People share opinions on developments, complain about traffic, praise parks.
So cities can actually use that data.
Yeah, some are analyzing social media data to understand how people use different areas, map traffic flows, gauge public sentiment on projects. It's like a new layer of civic engagement almost.
And then there's the whole Instagrammable city thing we've all seen.
Oh, yeah. Certain spots become famous online purely for their visual appeal. Cafes, street art, viewpoints, and that drives real foot traffic. People go there because they saw it online. Our feeds literally guide where we go.
It's tourism driven by likes.
In a way, yes. And beyond tourism, think about social movements using hashtags. They unite people online around a cause or location.
And that energy translates into offline action. Protests, meetups, community organizing.
Exactly. It really shows how blurred the lines are now between our online lives and our physical experiences in the city.
This power of digital connection, these online communities,
Yeah.
it seems like a recurring theme. One source we looked at, from Adriana Lacy Consulting, really doubled down on this.
Yeah, they emphasized how these spaces connect like-minded people globally. It's not just social. It's for personal growth, learning, finding your tribe.
And for brands, it's about perception, engagement, loyalty.
Absolutely. They highlighted some really diverse case studies of successful communities.
Like what?
Well, Black Lives Matter, again, how the hashtag and visual platforms like Instagram mobilized a global movement.
Okay.
Or Dove's Real Beauty campaign, using hashtags like hashtag Real Beauty and hashtag Show Us to get users involved, sharing their own stories, building a community around that message.
That's more brand focused.
Right. And Humans of New York, purely about authentic storytelling on Facebook and Instagram, building this massive, deeply connected audience.
That one's amazing. The engagement is incredible.
It really is. And think about hobbies, too. Goodreads for book lovers, it thrives because users write reviews, join book clubs, discuss. It is the community.
Even something like Peloton, isn't that mostly solo?
You'd think so, but they build community through leaderboards, challenges, sharing progress on social media. It creates encouragement, maybe a little competition, fosters loyalty.
Ah, interesting. What else?
Twitch streamers were mentioned how they use platforms like X, Instagram, TikTok, in addition to Twitch, to grow their audience and keep them engaged across the web.
Cross-platform community building.
Exactly. And then there's the wild one, our Wall Street bets.
Oh, yeah. The GameStop saga.
Right. That Reddit forum showed how a niche online community with its own culture, its own language, could mobilize collective action that had major real-world financial impact. Incredible stuff.
Truly. Any others?
Duolingo, using humor, short-form video on TikTok, plus gamification and community features within the app to make language learning engaging and social.
So lots of different approaches. What are the common threads? How do you actually build a successful online community? Seems like hard work.
It is. Consistency is key. You need active management, someone fostering conversation, keeping things on track.
Can't just set it and forget it.
Definitely not. Having a clear identity helps shared language, inside jokes, user-generated content that reflects the community's vibe. Also, creating feedback loops, show members their input matters.
Transparency, too, I imagine.
Crucial for trust. And finally, using data, understanding what posts get engagement when people are active, that helps you nurture the community effectively.
Makes sense. Okay, let's do a big shift now. Manufacturing. What's the outlook for 2025 there? Sounds like smart factories are becoming baseline.
Yeah, the idea of leveraging digital tech and data for efficiency isn't futuristic anymore. It's pretty much essential. Integrating sensors, analytics, automation throughout the process.
Just about efficiency, or is there more?
Efficiency is big, but sustainability is another huge trend. It's moving beyond just compliance, like ticking boxes.
How so?
Companies are seeing sustainability as a real differentiator, a source of innovation, new business models, a way to attract customers and talent.
But it has to be real, right? We mentioned greenwashing earlier.
Absolutely. It needs to be authentic and integrated across the whole value chain: sourcing, production, waste, energy, not just a marketing slogan.
And doing all this requires a solid digital strategy.
Totally. It's not just buying tech. It's about having digital leadership. Strong cybersecurity, cyber insurance was mentioned specifically, and skilling up the workforce.
Makes sense. And supply chains. Still a massive focus after the last few years.
Oh, absolutely. Resilience is the watchword. That means things like diversifying suppliers so you're not reliant on one source or region.
And using tech for better visibility.
Exactly. Using data, AI, to get a clearer picture of your whole supply chain, spot risks earlier. And sustainability is creeping into supply chain decisions too. Plus, there's growing regulatory pressure for more transparency there.
Like that Canadian Modern Slavery Act example.
Right. Companies are being pushed to know more about who they're doing business with further down the chain.
So to stay competitive, innovation is just table stakes.
Pretty much. You need strong business cases for adopting new tech, especially AI. The pace of change is accelerating, so manufacturers need to be agile, constantly looking for improvements.
And that brings us back to AI and the workforce. How do manufacturers actually implement AI effectively?
It needs careful planning. Change management is huge, getting employees on board, addressing governance, ethics, using AI not just for automation, but for things like knowledge management, transferring skills from experienced workers.
Oh, it's more than just training people on new software.
Much more. It's about building a culture where humans and AI collaborate effectively, moving beyond just upskilling to really integrating AI into how work gets done.
And underpinning all of this, data.
It's data. It's the fuel. Using it for predictive maintenance, optimizing production lines, making supply chains smarter. But you need the infrastructure to handle it. Good governance.
They called it data mastery.
Yeah, basically being really good at collecting, managing, analyzing, and acting on data across the entire operation. It's a core competency now.
One last thing on manufacturing energy. All this new tech must use a lot of power.
It does. AI, data centers, they're energy hungry. So manufacturers need to proactively plan for future energy needs. Exploring renewables, improving energy efficiency, that's becoming critical too.
So sector and major transformation. Tech, sustainability, resilience, data.
A perfect storm of change, really.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've covered a huge amount of ground today. From social media culture and consumer shifts, through online communities and urban impacts, all the way to the factory floor in 2025.
Yeah, quite the journey. But hopefully by connecting these different threads, you, the listener, get a more holistic view of what's shaping the business world.
It's all interconnected, isn't it?
Definitely.
So here's maybe a final thought to chew on. This deepening blend of our online and offline lives, mixed with this incredibly fast tech evolution. How is that going to keep reshaping, well, everything? How we live, how we work, how we connect.
And maybe more importantly for you listening, what proactive steps can you take to navigate all that change successfully?
Food for thought. And if any specific area we talked about really grabbed you,
We definitely encourage you to dig deeper. Check out the original sources if you can. Explore related topics. There's always more to learn.
absolutely. And that's what we aim for with the deep dive, giving you those key insights distilled down to help you stay sharp and informed.
Hope it was useful.
We'll be back with another deep dive soon. Thanks for tuning in.